The video opens with a hiss. Not the usual kind. This is the high pressure. Something dashes dash about dash to dash go dash very wrong kind of hiss. The kind that sounds like an angry serpent jammed inside a copper pipe. Then, right there on camera, the main water line in front of my house detonates. A razor-clean jet of water rockets straight upward from the dirt, slams into the soffit, and turns into a drenching waterfall that pours directly into the open crawlspace vent. The timestamp in the corner flashes calmly. 2:13 a.m., and off to the left, glowing in grainy infrared, you can see her? Patricia Elmwood, president of the Cypress Bend Estates HOA, standing there in pastel pajamas and a reflective safety vest, clutching a wrench in one hand and a clipboard in the other, staring at the exploding pipe like she absolutely did not expect that level of catastrophe. She drops the wrench, stumbles backward, glances around, and then, because she is exactly this kind of person, pulls out her phone and starts snapping photos of my house. Jump ahead 10 hours. I, Cole Ramirez, am standing ankle-deep in my own living room. The shop vac is screaming. 3 industrial fans are roaring. My socks are fully soaked. I'm staring at Patricia and the rest of the HOA board while they casually flip through their clipboards in my kitchen. It appears to be deferred maintenance, Patricia says sweetly. As if we all hadn't just watched her on my 4K security system performing neighborhood sabotage. I pause the video on a perfect frame, her hunched over my water shutoff, wrench in hand. Patricia, I say, turning the TV toward them. Let me rewind for you. For the record, I moved to Cypress Bend Estates because it looked boring. White fences, cul-de-sacs, matching mailboxes, and an HOA brochure that used words like community harmony and aesthetic continuity. I'm a work-from-home software engineer who avoids drama, whose wildest weekend activity is smoking ribs or reading crime novels on the porch. I am not a fight the HOA kind of guy. I'm a please just let me exist and pay my mortgage kind of guy. I bought the single-story ranch at the end of Juniper Court Holder, a bit cheaper, with a yard that actually had trees. It came with the standard HOA starter kit, a thick binder of bylaws, a printed newsletter called The Cypress Gazette, which should honestly be called The Cypress Gossip, and a welcome basket topped with a refrigerator magnet featuring Patricia's smiling face like she was campaigning. For senior suburban overlord, Patricia Elmwood, late 50s, sprayed-in-place hair, floral blouses, and a voice like a customer service rep who absolutely refuses to escalate your call. She'd been HOA president for 13 years. People said that with the tone of someone describing a 13-year prison sentence. Our first meeting was almost normal. She appeared on my porch with cookies and the rulebook. Welcome, Mr. Ramirez. We're thrilled to have new energy in the community. We're a very involved neighborhood. I nodded, because small talk makes my brain shut off. Her eyes flicked past me into my living room, then swept down my driveway. You'll want to make sure your garbage bins are stored in the garage at all times. All times? Except bin day, of course. We've had issues with sloppiness. I nodded again. Sure, no problem. Had the story ended there, I would have lived out my quiet HOA-egulated existence. But then, I committed my first great offense against Cypress Bend. I installed a motion-activated security camera over my driveway, which I'm sure will be very helpful in any future legal or insurance proceedings. Best, Cole? Within an hour, 2 board members quietly emailed me separately. One wrote, "We did not authorize this." Another added, "Please understand, not all of us support Patricia's tactics." By that evening, Officer Nguyen called. "Mr. Ramirez, just so you're aware, we have escalated this to the DA. There is clear evidence of trespassing and property damage, and the city is furious. They want to pursue infrastructure or tampering charges. We will be interviewing Miss Elmwood tomorrow." I sat on my folding camping chair, the only dry seat left in my house, and smiled for the first time in 48 hours. The power was shifting. The emergency HOA meeting was set for Saturday at 10 a.m. in the aggressively over-decorated Cypress Bend clubhouse. Patricia believed she'd called it to address community security concerns. The city and the police had slightly different plans. I arrived early, mostly to enjoy the awkward procession. board members shuffling in, residents curious about the drama. Patricia drifting around the lobby, whispering to anyone within reach, and flashing tense smiles. Her hair was extra tall. Her pearls were extra shiny. She wore her president name tag like a badge. "Cole," she said, approaching me with brittle cheer. "I hope there are no hard feelings. These things happen with aging homes. I'm sure your insurance morning, Miss Elmwood." Officer Nguyen stepped up behind me, joined by the city utilities investigator and a woman in a blazer holding a folder. "Who are all these people?" Patricia asked, her smile wobbling. "Guests," I said. The meeting began with Patricia tapping her gavel on the folding table. "I hereby call this emergency session of the Cypress Bend HOA to order," she announced. "First item, the increasing number of unauthorized security cameras in our community." "Actually," the woman in the blazer said, rising, "we're starting with something else." She held up a badge. "Assistant Da Harav. I'm here regarding a criminal investigation involving Miss Elmwood." The room fell silent, except for a child whispering, "Mom, what's a criminal investigation?" The DA laid it out calmly, clinically: evidence of trespassing on my property, evidence of tampering with municipal water infrastructure, resulting damage to my home, potential fines, and jail time. The city investigator backed her with diagrams and photos of the busted pipe. Then they played the footage on the clubhouse's giant pull-down screen. Patricia's 2 a.m. adventure unfolded in painful high definition. The sneaking, the wrench, the twist, the explosion, the soaked escape. The timestamp glowed in the corner. Her reflective vest sparkled like a disco ball of guilt. The room collectively recoiled. Someone gasped when the pipe burst. Someone else snorted when the water nailed her in the face. Both reactions were justified. When the video ended, Patricia tried to salvage it. That could be anyone," she sputtered. "That video is taken out of context." Ralph clicked to the next slide. A freeze frame of Patricia staring straight into the camera. "That is your HOA president committing multiple criminal acts," Harav said. "We're here today as a courtesy to inform the board and community that charges are being filed." Patricia's composure cracked. "This is absurd," she hissed. "I was protecting the neighborhood from an aggressive homeowner who refuses to follow rules. He installed unauthorized surveillance. He parks his cars in a non-harmonious configuration." "His lawn, Miss Elmwood?" Officer Nguyen interrupted. "You are not currently under arrest, but that can change depending on your behavior. I advise you to stop talking." "That man," she said, pointing at me and actually shaking, "is a menace to this community." Miss Elmwood, the treasurer, said weakly, He installed a Ring doorbell." The room realized in that moment they were not looking at a stern protector. They were looking at a control freak who finally picked a fight with someone who documented everything. The DA handed the board a folder. "You may want to review your liability. While there is no evidence the board approved this, your president acted under color of HOA authority. Civil exposure is likely." The entire board turned pale. 3 things happened over the next 6 weeks. First, Patricia was removed as HOA president in record time. The board held a special election. The vote to remove her was so overwhelming they ran out of yes ballots and resorted to post-its. She arrived clutching a printed statement about due process and character assassination, but no one cared. They wanted her key fob and her clipboard. Second, the legal process hit. She was charged with trespassing, criminal mischief, and unlawful tampering with infrastructure. HOA president accused of sabotaging residents' water line landed in the local paper. And then the neighborhood Facebook group, where it was memmed into oblivion. Someone turned the freeze frame of her getting blasted with water into a "when you try to control everything" reaction image. She took a plea. Fines, probation, mandatory community service, and a restraining order covering my home and, amusingly, water department facilities. The judge, according to the article, lifted an eyebrow and asked, "You really did all this over a security camera?" Patricia 4 once had no